America may be famed for its Jazz Age and Prohibition during the 1920s, and for its economic strength before the Wall Street crash, but a darker side existed. The KKK dominated the South, and those who did not fit in found that they were facing the full force of the law. Those who supported un-American political beliefs, such as communism, were suspects for all sorts of misdemeanors. The so-called Red Scare refers to the fear of communism in the U.S. during the 1920s. It is said that there were over 150,000 communists or anarchists in the USA during the 1920s alone, and this represented only 0.1% of the overall population of the U.S. However, many Americans were scared of communists already, as they had overthrown the royal family in Russia in 1917 and murdered them in the following year. Also, in 1901, an anarchist had shot the American president McKinley dead. The fear of communism increased when a series of strikes occurred in 1919. The police of Boston went on strike, and hundreds of thousands of steel and coal workers did likewise. The communists usually always got the blame. A series of bomb explosions in 1919, including a bungled attempt to blow up Alexander Mitchell Palmer, America's Attorney General, led to a campaign against the communists. On New Year's Day, 1920, over 6,000 people were arrested and put in prison. Many had been released a few weeks later, and only 3 guns were found in their homes. Very few people outside the 6,000 arrested complained about the legality of these arrests. Such was the fear of communism. The judicial system seemed to turn a blind eye, as America's national security was paramount. However, far more people complained about the arrest of Nicola Sacco and Bartholomew Vanzetti. They were arrested in May 1920 and charged with the wages robbery, which 2 guards were killed. Both men were from Italy and spoke little English, but both were known to be anarchists, and when they were found, they both had loaded guns on them. The judge at their trial, Judge Thayer, was known to hate the Reds, and 61 people claimed that they saw both men at the robbery/murder. But 107 other people claimed that they had seen both men elsewhere when the crime was committed. Regardless of this, both men were found guilty. They spent 7 years in prison, and despite many public protests and petitions, both men were executed by electric chair on August 24, 1927. Shortly after the Civil War, a small group of discouraged and defeated Confederate soldiers joined together to form an organization dedicated to the traditional life of the South. Mostly, their focus was to keep the enslavement of African Americans. Originally only engaged in prankish activities, the notoriety of the group soon spread and became violent. Hence the Ku Klux Klan. Under the leadership of Nathan Bedford Forrest, the Klan was united by their shared racist ideals and their desire to preserve the Old South. Engaged in lawless and violent acts, the Klansmen wore robes over their faces and bodies to conceal their identities. They were often referred to as the Invisible Empire because of their attire. The mark of the white robe was soon affiliated with such atrocities as threatening, beating, mutilating, and lynching African Americans. Although by the end of the 19th century, the Klan had primarily vanished and the KKK rose again after World War I. In 1915, political and economic conditions were ideal for the rise of the second KKK. Jewish and other foreigners were blamed for the decline of farming and marketing prices. This economic difficulty made the nation susceptible to the Klan's hate message against the non-whites. In the 20s, William Simmons created a new Klan, seizing on Americans' fears of immigrants, communism, and anything un-American. He saw it as a money-making opportunity where he could sell memberships, costumes, and life insurance. He hired an aggressive commissions-based sales force that generated over 2 million members by 1924. The Klan of the 20s thrived on anti-Catholics, opposition of the cultural modernism of the Jazz era, and violators of alcohol, smoking, and gambling laws. Directing their hate towards Jews and foreign-born, the Klan used tarring and feathering, branding, mutilating, lynching, and hanging to install fear. The Klan used other tactics to install fear as well. The most significant, which later became a trademark of the Klan, used burning of the cross. The fiery cross is said to be a symbol representing the ideals of Christian civilization. The cross itself is a symbol of sacrifice and service to Christ. The fire signifies that Christ is the light of the world. The light is said to drive away the darkness and the gloom, so a knowledge of truth dispels ignorance and superstition. Burning crosses were left as a mark to warn those that have been violated by the Klan. Eventually, their scare tactics and violence caused their membership to decline. Several KKK members who have been elected to office failed to produce any results. They simply could not stop the revolution of morals and manners that were sweeping the nation. After a series of scandals, memberships began to dwindle.